I've seen patients who have used these different types of steroids and they're manipulating their hormones and they're going to physiologically mess themselves up.
Dr. Craig Conover is a doctor and avid runner and says he's found a way to help patients reach their fitness goals without taking controversial supplements like HGH.
And what we try to do is help people boost their own growth hormone levels so that they can feel better, because growth hormone is something that helps people grow stronger, work harder.
Rick Breslin is training for the PGA Tour but couldn't figure out why he was so tired.
I used to wake up and die off at about noon.
After seeing 5 doctors, his trainer recommended Dr. Conover's program. He went through metabolic and fitness testing and realized his food choices, while healthy, weren't right for him.
I figured out that milk, which I drink probably a half a gallon a day, I eat sandwiches every day for lunch, and milk and wheat were like extreme problems with me.
We generally think of these as delayed food allergies. You may not know, you're not going to have necessarily anaphylaxis or a rash or diarrhea, but you may have fatigue, headache, which impairs how you function.
And the testing doesn't take a lot of time. This machine here in under 2 minutes can tell you how much lean muscle mass you have, how much body fat you have, and how many calories you burn a day without exercising.
After eliminating foods that caused inflammation in his body, Rick says his energy level doubled.
We actually drilled down individually, for me, for once, exactly what the problem was, and when we did that, dropped 20 pounds.
Kristen McFan, ABC News 4.
Food allergies are known to make people swell, cause hives, or even be life-threatening. But doctors say food sensitivities silently happen to most of us and can cause hundreds of ailments. 2 patients tell us eliminating a few foods has cured their problems.
As simple as pasta, we have to be careful.
Debbie James fell down on her luck. She suffered from arthritis, migraines, rashes, and stomach problems. She didn't know these problems were brought on by what she was eating.
I had no idea that I could be sensitive or allergic to any foods.
After taking food allergy and DNA tests, Debbie found out her body is sensitive to beef, chocolate, and gluten, which comes in the forms of wheat, barley, and rye. She quit eating all of these foods.
The first thing was I had no pain anymore. I had had chronic tendinitis for years. I had joint pain, arthritis. Within a matter of days, I was running up and down the stairs, and just a few days before that, I could hardly get out of bed.
Debbie lost 50 pounds in 4 months because her body no longer had to fight those foods. She underwent testing through Dr. Peter Osborne in Sugar Land.
They've linked now over 140 different autoimmune diseases to be associated with gluten intolerance.
Lisa McCaleb found out her body is sensitive to gluten and eggs. She lost 50 pounds when she quit eating these foods.
I do not have headaches anymore, and that was one of the main things. I did not realize that the headaches were from the food allergies and the things I was eating.
In research, we have actually shown food reactions creating damage to every tissue in the body.
Dr. Osborne says his patients often clear up overnight with problems like acne, psoriasis, eczema, and even hypothyroidism, just by eliminating foods their body silently can't handle.
Is it Sarah you went and saw?
Dr. Don Ford offers his patients a blood test for food sensitivities called the Alcat.
And you see how tremendously it can impact someone's life just to change their diet for them. And when they see that impact themselves, then they're motivated to continue it. Unlike most diets that people go on for weight loss, where they do it for a while and they quit and lose their motivation. Debbie and Lisa are more motivated than ever.
I had terrible arthritis pains. I could hardly use my hands. And now I make jewelry as a hobby, which I couldn't have sat there and strung the beads.
That's been the main difference, just feeling good, feeling energetic.
You can go to our website to find out how much the test costs, which ailments can be treated, and to get a list of foods that contain gluten, that a silent allergen for an estimated 30% of Americans.
Now, in high definition, from Florida's top-rated television station, this is the Night Beat on News Channel 5.
Allergies and dieting. Why could they be preventing you from losing weight?
And what have doctors found about allergies that could prevent you from losing weight?
Steve, thanks very much. I got to find him in the back of the closet there. You've tried every diet under the sun and nothing really seems to work.
Doctors around the world are learning subtle food allergies can be the source of many ailments, from obesity to mood swings to physical conditions like arthritis and eczema.
News Channel 5's Chandra Bill shows us those doctors are turning to a South Florida company to help their patients discover the food allergies that are making them fat.
Hi, Gina. Catherine.
Nice to
Welcome.
meet you. Thank
Come on
you
in.
so much.
Gina Fernano hopes Alcat can do for her what it's done for others, cure her of chronic health problems and help her lose weight.
I was obese. I had to wear a support hose for 5 years. I had to take Celebrex for arthritis. I had to take 2 different asthma medications every day for asthma.
Joe hasn't been on medication in a year, and he lost 85 pounds. The Alcat test showed his problems were related to what he was eating, specifically tomatoes, peppers, and lemons.
You don't know that the foods you're eating are your sensitivities. And the only way to know is to take the test.
The process starts with a blood test.
Let me call Jason, get him in to draw your blood.
The Alcat test checks for food intolerance at a cellular level. Technicians are looking for sensitivities, not allergic reactions. An allergic reaction typically happens immediately. A sensitivity builds over time, triggering the body's immune system and causing inflammation.
The body can withstand so much toxicity. And then when you would exceed that level, then there's a breakdown. And breakdown in this case means the breakout of some symptoms, which could be migraine, arthritis, the inability to lose weight, and so forth.
So how do the allergies actually make us fat?
When the immune system becomes activated, it actually interferes with the body's ability to burn fat. And so the fat is actually stored instead of utilized for energy.
Okay, and that's why people commonly gain weight.
That's the main reason why people who have food intolerances, which most people do, gain weight.
That's the premise. So, does it work in real life? Gina hopes so.
I had no idea that I could be allergic to food, have sensitivities to food, and if by eliminating some of that, it can not only eliminate the weight, but it can eliminate the pain that I go through daily, I'll be thrilled.
After the blood test, clients are given a consultation by a clinical nutritionist.
How long will the results take?
Catherine Holmes explains what's ahead.
The results are sent to them within 10 working days, and they're very user-friendly, color-coded. Red and orange are, this is severe red, moderate orange, mildly reactive is in the yellow, and the green are all the acceptable foods that they can eat. And those green foods are actually placed on a 4-day rotation plan.
Bridget Hahn of Boca Raton had gastrointestinal problems, dry eye, restless leg syndrome. She had exhausted her treatment options, settling on medication and an organic diet.
Oh, I thought I was totally health freak. I was an organic person. I was everything. I thought I did everything perfect.
But her symptoms persisted. Research led her to the Alcat test. Within 5 weeks of beginning the rotation diet, her symptoms were gone, and she'd lost 12 pounds. Audette Chung of Fort Lauderdale had an embarrassing condition.
Hyperhidrosis.
This is what you had,
Yes.
which is?
It's sweating, constant sweating of the hand, the feet.
And what had you tried to alleviate it?
I used to do shots in my hands. They cost like $500 each hand. It lasts for 3 months.
The Alcat test showed Audette had a strong reaction to chicken, oranges, and cucumbers, staples in her old diet, but no more.
I'm wearing sandals the whole day and I don't have to put tissue in them.
For Jason Phillip, who now works at Alcat, debilitating migraines were his problem. Turns out corn and carrots were the triggers.
Honestly, I haven't had migraines in months, and it's because of the diet, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe it, and it really, really helped me.
Most Alcat clients are referred by their doctors. Dr. Juan Ramos of the Miami Institute has sent more than 100 of his patients to get the test.
Does everyone you send react positively?
Yes, everyone. If they comply with the food intolerance, everyone feels the difference.
And that appears to be the key to the success of this system, compliance. A month after her initial Alcat test, we visited Gina. While she has lost weight, it happened on another diet.
I just felt that the options that were given to me, even though you could probably get them now at the Green Market or at Whole Foods, it just wasn't anything that was appealing to me at all. And I just felt that it was a bit too much for me to do.
Gina's reaction is typical because the diet changes can require a significant lifestyle change.
A lot of people are very overwhelmed because they find that a lot of the foods that they were eating, much of the time, they're reactive to. So it takes a while for them to absorb it, understand it, and really get to the point where they're willing to take those foods off. And, you know, I always try to do the positive, look at the foods you can eat as opposed to the foods that you're taking away.
Bridget was willing. She encourages others that the commitment will pay off.
Is it difficult to stick with what's recommended?
The first 4 or 5 days, you have to think about it. You just have to have that menu with you.
Right.
But you can do it.
Among Alcat's other clients, Sarah Jessica Parker, Kate Hudson, and Matt LeBlanc. Now, the cost for the Alcat test can be significant, $175 to over $1,000, depending on the number of foods being tested. And by the way, they also test for chemicals and molds. There is limited insurance coverage. You can find detailed information by going to our website, WPTV.com, and we'll give you a link to Alcat. I'm Chandra Bill, News Channel 5.
Live from the news station, this is 7 News at 5.
You ever feel like you're eating all the right foods, but just aren't getting the results you want?
Many times, Craig. Yes, the right foods like a candy bar, not really. Well, maybe you're eating all the wrong foods for your particular body. 7's Richard Lemus, shows us a new test that'll pinpoint those forbidden foods.
I think you have food allergies.
With a food allergy, your body lets you know which trigger food you better avoid. But there are many foods that we don't know about that are also hurting our bodies.
Many people are eating foods they're intolerant to and they have no idea.
Food intolerances are foods our bodies just don't digest well. Eating those foods can cause fatigue, migraines, and intestinal problems. Even worse, it could be the one thing that's keeping you from getting to your goal weight.
Food intolerance is the #1 reason why people can't lose weight. When you eat foods that you're intolerant to, you will gain weight because your absorption of nutrients will be deficient. You will retain water.
To detect those forbidden foods, the Miami Institute of Age Management and Intervention is offering the Alcat test. It's a blood test that detects 150 food sensitivities based on how your cells react when exposed to different foods.
We actually put the blood into these cassettes that have different antigens or different foods. If someone's reactive to a number of those, what we do is we recommend they remove them from their diet. And in many cases, their symptoms improve almost immediately.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is a test for food intolerance.
Alexa Malzone took the test after a healthy diet and exercise just wouldn't do the trick.
I was at a point where I said, why aren't I getting the results that I feel like I should be getting?
While she was eating healthy foods, the test showed they were all the wrong foods for her body.
I realized that 80% of the foods that I was eating every day that I thought were great for me were bad for me.
She now passes on things like bananas and instead has peaches. And as she drops other intolerable foods from her diet, she's seen great results.
I've been able to lose some body fat. I've probably dropped about 5 to 8 pounds. So that really tells me that my body is really getting what it needs now.
Richard Lemus, 7 News.
Coming up next, Deerfield Beach healthcare marketing expert Lee Rolnick, who's helped launch Alcat, an innovative system that detects food allergies. Business Report producer David Weir talked with Lee and asked him what the system was all about.
Sure. Alcat is a blood test for food and chemical sensitivity. We have a lab right here in Florida that's been doing this testing for 21 years.
Well, okay, to be more specific, if I come in there, what exactly do you do?
Sure, we'll draw your blood, and we'll take a look at your white blood cells, and we'll tell you how you're reacting to different foods, chemicals, and molds. And basically, we'll tell you what you should be eating and what you shouldn't.
Hey, that's terrific. You know, obviously you got a lot of MDs involved in this thing. Is the American Medical Association behind this and all? They really
Sure. We work with a lot of doctors, a lot of healthcare professionals, ranging from MDs to chiropractors to naturopathic doctors, osteopaths, even nutritionists and dietitians will use this in their practice. We find it more important now to take a look at food intolerances opposed to just food allergies, classic peanut allergies, for instance.
What's the difference between allergies and intolerance?
Sure. An allergy, a true food allergy, is similar to like a peanut or a shellfish allergy, where you'll feel the negative reaction. You'll feel something happening almost immediately. It could be swelling of the tongue, closing of the airways, and in extreme cases, you could have anaphylactic shock. On the other hand, an intolerance, which is what we test for here with the Alcat test, is something that's more of a chronic problem. Things like migraine headaches, chronic fatigue, swelling of the joints, chronic inflammation, things that probably won't kill you, but they'll make your life miserable. And the big problem is that they don't happen right after you eat the food. So if the symptoms are delayed, people have a hard time associating it back to what they ate.
Well, okay, so if I come into you and I get a blood test, you're going to tell me what? Okay, Dave, stay away from mashed potatoes and carrots or stuff like that, or you can eat, is that the way that's going to work?
It's exactly how it works. We'll tell you which foods your body digests and processes properly, and which ones it doesn't. And that's different for you, for me, for everyone.
Yeah. Well, have you got any success stories you can tell me about?
Yeah,
tell our viewers about?
A 21-year track record of success stories. We have some testimonials on our website. We have a lot of doctors that have been using this service for 10, 15 years that have tons of success stories. So yes, we have a lot of success stories.
It's the old adage, you are what you eat, literally, right?
It's never been more true, you are what you eat. And what else has never been more true is that people want to take control of their own health care, and people want to find out what foods they're eating are causing their problems, rather than just take prescriptions to overcome some of these symptoms.
Right. Well, this is going to be a terrific way to lose weight or get involved in weight loss, right? Is that a side effect, a beautiful side effect?
It is, and it's interesting that you mentioned that, because when the test was developed, 20 some odd years ago, it was developed to overcome symptoms associated with food intolerance. But what we found was that people were saying, not only is my runny nose and my fatigue gone, but I also lost that 10 pounds I've been trying to get rid of.
Yeah,
so it's a wonderful side effect of doing this.
All right. Well, how did you get involved in this business?
I'm a native New Yorker, moved down to Florida about 3.5 years ago. Was fortunate enough to meet Roger Deutsch, who's the founder of our company, who brought me in to build a sales and marketing organization and a physician referral network. And over the last 3 years, we've doubled our physician referral network, and essentially we've doubled our business.
Well, that's great, Lee. You're doing terrific. And if any of our viewers want any more information, we're going to put the website up on the screen now.
Oh, that's great.
And they can look at that and pop in there. Oh, before we go, we're running out of time. How much does this thing cost?
That all depends upon how many items you're tested for. It could be for a small child, we do 50 foods. For an adult like you or I, we do up to 175 different foods. So the test ranges in price from $99 up to several $100s.
I got you. Well, that's very reasonable when you're looking at somebody who's really suffering from an illness or a malady that they want to try to get rid of.
When you compare it to the price that you pay for prescription drugs in a year, it becomes quite affordable.
Okay, Lisa Rolnick, God bless you. Good luck with the Alcat business that you're involved with.
Thanks for having me.
All righty. And stay with us. We'll return right after these words.
You're watching the one and only Wish TV. Now, News 8 gets you closer.
Rudy Rivera believes that yo-yo dieting is one of the culprits behind food allergies, and he has a way that you can find out if you have a food allergy too. A Allergic to food? How can that be? Americans love food, probably a little too much. But Dr. Rudy Rivera believes that over time you develop food sensitivities, especially if you've gained and lost weight with various diets. He's allergic to green beans and broccoli. He believes because he ate them too much when he dieted.
The food allergy itself causes a depletion of serotonin in the body. This causes you to go out and search out something sweet or sugary or starchy to eat because that is the way you have of increasing the level of serotonin.
It's a vicious cycle that results in weight loss and then weight gain. But Rivera believes you can get a handle on it if you get an Alcat test. It's a blood test that measures the blood cells' reactions to a foreign substance.
Well, this is a more custom-made specific. This is specific for you, Eric. You cannot eat this food or you'll get sick. We don't know what the disease will be. We don't know if it'll be a runny nose or a migraine or what, but if you eliminate all the foods, your body will have the opportunity to be as healthy as it can possibly be with the nutrients you have in you.
Rivera has written a book called Your Hidden Food Allergies Are Making You Fat, and you can pick it up at your bookstore. So what's Dr. Rivera's advice on the best way to lose weight? A low-fat, balanced diet along with regular exercise. The common sense approach is still the best way, as we all know. We just need to write a book about it.
Yeah, we've all heard that before. Debbie Knox tonight. Thanks.
All right.
You're watching the latest edition of the Wellness Hour, the leader in medical news and information. I'm Randy Alvarez. My first guest is Fred Pescatore, MD. Dr. Pescatore is the medical director of Partners in Integrative Medicine in New York City. He is the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Hamptons Diet, his fourth health and nutrition book. He is here today to discuss how food sensitivities can make you fat. Dr. Pescatore, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, before we get into today's topic, a little bit about your background. Now, you ran the Atkins Center, very well-known center, for 5 years.
Yeah, I was the medical director there for about 5 years in the 90s. So this was before low-carb craze really took off.
Now, your practice today, much different than what you were doing back then, the Atkins Center?
Well, the practice, sure. I mean, medicine evolves, science evolves, so my practice is now exactly everything it should be. I mean, it's the latest, up-to-date, most newest information you could possibly imagine.
Okay. I read your book over the weekend, The Hamptons Diet. It is much different than the Atkins diet. How is it different, by the way? And how does it tie into what we're talking about today, food sensitivities?
Well, those are two separate questions, two separate issues. I mean, the Hamptons diet is different from the Atkins diet. For main reason is you don't have to get into ketosis. There's no gimmicks.
Okay.
So there's not that. I also separate out the fats. I think there are some healthy fats, and I think there are some really unhealthy fats.
Okay.
Atkins diet never took that into consideration. I believe that you can have healthy whole grain carbohydrates, you can have fruits, you can have vegetables, you can do all of that, and you can do all of that from the very beginning of a diet. So the Hamptons diet really, I think, is just, again, the most cutting-edge technology and the most cutting-edge science to date.
Okay.
Because diet books always have to evolve because we learn new things all the time.
Now, nutritionists of the stars, they're calling you. Names like Sarah Jessica Parker, Kate Hudson, Matt LeBlanc go to you for advice. Is that right?
One can say that, sure.
Okay, okay. Now, how did you get this celebrity following, by the way?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with just being in New York, naming the book The Hamptons Diet, a lot of celebrities out there. And I just think because it's an easy plan to follow. It's an easy plan to follow, it works, it's customized, it's personalized, it works specifically for them. And you can eat. So it's not a diet program where you have to give food.
So you walk your talk. I mean, you look healthy.
Absolutely. I mean, if I don't do it, how can I expect other people to do it?
Now, one of the reasons we invite you on the program today is to talk about food sensitivities. One of the books, Your Hidden Food Allergies Can Make You Fat. You said on the telephone that 90% of your patients have an Alcat test. I guess it's a food allergy test or a food sensitivity test?
Well, it's a food sensitivity test. I mean, right from the beginning, we have to be very clear about this. I mean, allergies, food allergies, and food sensitivities are two completely different things.
Okay.
One, food allergies, you generally know about because your throat will close up, you'll get hives, you'll have all sorts of bad things happen to you. You can die from a food allergy. Those are things like peanuts and wheat and soy and eggs.
So immediate response type reaction.
Now, food sensitivities, on the other hand, which is something the Alcat test measures, measures things that are a little more subtle, things that you may never realize is bothering your body.
Okay.
So what you have then is you could have up to a 72-hour reaction. Or you can eat a particular food and not know for 72 hours that was the food that was affecting you.
Okay, give me an example. So for example, when it says food allergies or sensitivities can make you fat, give me that example where it's a hidden food allergy that you don't even know about, or sensitivity.
Most people will not know what their food sensitivities are.
Okay.
I mean, it could be the things you're eating every single solitary day. That could be the one thing that's preventing you from actually getting to your goal weight. A lot of people, weight loss is a process, right? So a lot of people they'll lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, and they reach that plateau that everybody hates to reach. And that's where things like an Alcat test comes really in handy, because then you can really know what your body likes, what your body doesn't like. Because when you're measuring these sensitivities, you're measuring something that's causing your body to be inflamed. And when your body's inflamed, it can't function properly. Your metabolism can't function properly. Your digestive system can't function properly. Your body can't metabolize the food and nutrients properly. So that's why it's so important that we have tests like the Alcat test to help us.
So when patients go to you, let's say for weight loss, or they just want to feel better, how are you using the Alcat? I mean, what does it help you do?
What it really helps me do, the Alcat test really helps me customize a program. So if you came into my office, you'd walk out with a different program than if the producer came into my office and needed to lose weight or to get healthy or to feel better about themselves. So the Alcat test helps me personalize it, customize it, so that, because each person's different. You'll never know what you're going to get from this test. And oftentimes people are surprised. They can't believe that something as simple as chicken, let's say, or salmon or wheat is bothering them. Then they get rid of it and they're astonished. They say, wow, I feel so much better now. My headaches are gone. I'm able to lose that weight. I don't get gastric reflux anymore. I don't get heartburn. None of that stuff. It goes away.
Sounds like an overstatement. That's not an exaggeration. You see that every week?
I see that every day.
Okay.
So it does sound like an overstatement.
So do you have patients that go to you and maybe they want to lose that last 20 pounds, maybe for a movie or whatever? They do an Alcat test. Something comes up.
Well, 20 pounds. They're not going to lose 20 pounds for a movie.
Okay.
Most of them are going to only have 5 or 10 pounds.
5 or 10 pounds, but they can't do it.
Right.
Does it come up where something pops up, a particular food? You eliminate that food. If I understand it correctly, the way this works, you do a test, they show a food allergy, say to salmon, and they're eating it all the time. They remove that salmon, and now they're able to lose weight.
Absolutely.
I mean, is that the way it works?
That's the way it works. I mean, and it works time and time and time again. So it's not just one patient this works on. It works on everybody. I mean, you mentioned that probably 90% of every patient gets this test done. Because I think it's really valid. I think it's really necessary in order to get them to be as healthy as they can possibly be. And the Alcat test looks at many different foods. So you can actually customize it to what the person eats. Now I have a list. I mean, the list I use is 150 of the most common foods that I would put people on. That would be on the Hamptons diet. So those are the foods I look at. But if you came to me and said, oh, I'm a vegetarian, or I only eat green beans every day of my life, you know, we would do different tests, and you can do that. So you can absolutely customize an Alcat test for how you live and eat.
A lot of bad press about gluten, for example. Is that always showing up as something people shouldn't have?
Gluten doesn't always show up. But in my population, the patient population I see, pretty much 98% of the time it will show up. Gluten, casein, those are the big ones.
Is that dairy? Casein's in dairy?
Casein is dairy, right. And I think that's because I have a very self-selected group of people that come to see me. I mean, they come to see me because they've read my books. They know that my philosophy is more of a Mediterranean style approach. So it's lean proteins and fruits and vegetables and whole grains and things like that. So they're going to come to me thinking that they have those problems, thinking that they have problems with wheat, or if they have problems with grains, whatever. And the Alcat test will pick it up, and it's remarkable.
So 100 different things it's looking at.
Well, it looks at a lot more.
Like food additives?
It can look at food additives, it can look at food colorings, it can look at preservatives, it can look at everything. You can literally, molds, I mean, anything you wanted to look at, I mean, there's pretty much a panel for.
With the patient that comes to you for weight loss, take me through the process. Okay. Aside from the diet, what you're telling them to put in their mouth, take me through the Alcat process. At what point do you say, okay, we need to take this test?
Well, they get that on. They get the Alcat test on day one.
Okay.
I mean, they come into my office. They'll be seen. They'll have a history, physical exam, just like any other doctor does. Then they get blood tests. Of course, I run blood tests that most conventional medical doctors would never run because they don't even know that they exist.
Okay.
And then I would do an Alcat test on almost, like I say, about 90% of my patients.
Are they resistant at first? I mean, when I first heard about this, I'm saying, I don't have a food allergy. I've been tested.
Some of them will say, I don't have it, I don't want it, don't even do it.
Okay.
But once I can convince them, and it doesn't take that much convincing. I mean, you have to realize when they're coming to see a nutritionist,
right,
they know I'm going to look at food. They know I'm going to look at the foods that they're eating. So they want that test. A lot of people come to me out of referrals because their friend had gotten the Alcat test and had gotten such great results. Their mother had the Alcat test, so they want it.
Okay.
So they come in, get the test, right done on the first day. Get the results back maybe a week, 10 days later. And it's a simple blood test. I mean, it's just like, just get your needle in your arm and that's it. Very simple. Get sent off to the lab. And then 10 days later, get the results back. And lo and behold, you'll be able to know what your hidden food sensitivities are.
What format does it come in?
It actually comes in a multicolored format. So it'll tell you what you're most sensitive to, then the second most, and then I hate to call it least, but minimal, let's say. So it comes in yellow, orange, and red. And then it also, again, then gives you the foods that were tested that your body did okay with.
Okay.
Then it actually gives you a list of the where those foods can be found, because a lot of people don't realize that soy can be in edamame, soy sauce, soy milk, soy protein isolates, protein shakes, those types of things. So it actually will list where all the different foods are, list the different families of foods. And then what you'll also get is a rotation diet. So they actually give you a way of kind of still having the foods in there, but not really. So
at first you eliminate the ones that your body reacts to the most, that you are the most sensitive to?
Well, in the way I use the test.
Okay.
I mean, and I'm sure every doctor that uses the Alcat test will use it differently. But the way I use the Alcat test is I will eliminate the most positive, so the ones that are in orange, the ones that are in red, and then the ones that are in orange. So I will eliminate, I don't mind so much the yellow ones, unless they have a really long list.
Okay.
If a patient has a huge list of foods that they're sensitive to, then you know there's an underlying gut issue. You know they have an underlying digestive problem, and you've got to eliminate everything.
Okay.
So this food sensitivity, and again we're getting back to the difference between food sensitivities and food allergies. A food allergy, a true food allergy, you'll never be able to eat that food again.
Okay.
A food sensitivity, you'll be able to get it back into your diet at some point, but you've got to heal the inflammation that these foods are causing, or you'll never be able to lose weight.
So what are the common foods then that can sabotage health or make somebody fat?
Common
you
foods.
See?
Well, sugar I think is the big one.
Okay.
You've got things like sweeteners, like aspartame, NutraSweet, those things. They also can keep weight on, even though people say they're diet and they're non-nutritive and they're non-caloric and that sort of thing. But your body doesn't.
Do these always come up? These artificial sweeteners on the test that?
If you test for them, they will often come up because most people who diet tend to use foods that have those types of products in them. I think wheat is a very big one. Dairy is a very big one. Gluten is huge right now. So many people have gluten intolerances.
Are people surprised, by the way? They get the test back and they say, I can't believe this. I eat this all the time.
Yes, absolutely. People are sometimes shocked when they get the test results back and then they don't believe it because they say, well, these are the foods I eat every day.
Okay.
And then you have to explain to them, well, think about it. I mean, the foods that you're putting in your body, the most often, the foods that you're exposed to every day, the foods your body's building up an antibody response to, of course they're the ones that you're going to be the most sensitive to. So the Alcat picks that up as well. They also pick up things that people have never eaten before either.
Like?
Well, so whatever, a miscellaneous food. Some people will say, well, I've never eaten a pineapple.
Right.
And it's on there. Why?
Okay.
So there's always lots of different questions.
So when the Alcat test picks up a sensitivity, what's going on in the body? that's so negative, or causing this inflammatory response, or releasing antibodies? Help me understand that process.
Well, what happens is when you eat a food, it's got to get digested. So as it goes and then passes through the digestive tract, and what happens is there are microscopic little holes that happen in the digestive tract. And so these microscopic little undigested food particles get caught in your bloodstream. Then your body says, wait a minute, this isn't supposed to be here. This is a foreign body, it's a foreign invader.
So it treats it like a foreign invader?
Absolutely. It treats it like it would a flu virus or a cold virus or any other bug that we get. And it says, whoa, this should not be here. So it sets up this whole cascade of immune response, immune system things, and that's why you get the inflammation. I mean, you have to realize most of our whole immune system cells reside in our digestive tract. 60 to 80% of our cells, of our immune system cells, reside and/or are made in our digestive tracts. So when that's not functioning properly, so many things can go wrong. So many things can go wrong. I mean, you could name it, and it can go wrong. Migraine headaches, indigestion, weight gain, inability to lose weight, headaches, regular old plain old headaches, allergies, eczema. Arthritis.
So with headaches, how could a food sensitivity have anything to do with a headache?
Well, what generally happens, somebody will get the Alcat test, they'll eliminate all of the foods. Then they'll come back a couple weeks, 3 weeks later, and they'll say, you know what, I've been having these headaches for years, on and off, and I haven't had them anymore. And then they get a little incredulous, and they're like, well, could it be this Alcat test? Could it be this elimination diet you've put me on? I'm not sure. But the real key is when they go and they eat that food, and then they get a response again. They get that headache comes back, that indigestion comes back.
And they never made the connection.
Arthritis pain comes back. They never made the connection. People don't make the connection with food ever. How many people do you know actually either A, watch what they eat, or B, even notice any reaction from what goes into their mouth to what comes out?
What about fatigue, though? It says that with this test helps you treat people that experience fatigue on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
How so?
Because, again, anytime you eliminate something that's an offender in your body, something that your body doesn't like, you're going to have more energy. Because guess what? Your body is now eating nutrition, getting the nutrients from foods that your body responds well to, as opposed to foods your body doesn't respond well to. So it decreases inflammation across the board. So it's just like if you get enough sleep, you feel better than it. You feel great the next day, right? Or if you've had only 3 hours of sleep the night before, you're a little groggy, can't get through the day maybe so well. It's the same with what you're doing to your body. I always call it the internal environment. Keeping the internal environment clean. If we can keep our internal environment clean, then a lot of the offenders, a lot of the external offenders, like having a bad day, like our bosses, like a traffic jam, something like that, things that make us so cranky and irritable and tired and fatigued all the time. If we can eliminate the internal stressors, the external stressors aren't that bad.
What about those people that say, you know, doctor, I have a slow metabolism? Do you find that when you remove these foods that are causing these problems, that all of a sudden their metabolism is not what they thought it was?
Well, slow metabolism takes on many forms. And one could be a thyroid problem. So if you do the Alcat test, eliminate some of the offending foods again, you will get your body's thyroid can actually start working better. So it could be
without medication.
Absolutely without medication, without even iodine, without kelp, without any help of any sort. It's just another way of, like I said at the beginning, it could affect your body one way, it'll affect my body a different way. Some people's metabolisms will get affected. Some people's thyroid glands will be affected. Some people, the way they digest the food, their bowel movements, irritable bowel syndrome, that's one of my favorite things. It doesn't exist.
Really?
Just take an Alcat test.
Eliminate those foods.
Eliminate those foods, you'll never have irritable bowel syndrome again. I mean, it's just the biggest joke to me is IBS. So that's just ridiculous. So everybody's sort of body is different. And I think that's what makes a test like the Alcat so important.
This sounds simple. Why isn't every doctor doing this?
I think every doctor isn't doing it because A, they don't know about it. I think if they knew about it, like I did, I think they wouldn't hesitate to offer the test to their patients.
So who's an ideal candidate for an Alcat test? I mean, who should get this test?
I think everyone should get an Alcat test. Everyone in America needs an Alcat test. But if you're suffering from inability to lose weight, if you've got fatigue, if you've got hair problems, I mean, if you've got indigestion, if you've got arthritis, if you've got any inflammatory condition whatsoever, including obesity, diabetes, heart disease, anything, you need to get an Alcat test. I mean, there's no reason why you should have any level of inflammation going on in your body. Eczema, allergies, psoriasis,
these go away.
Asthma. Absolutely. Everybody who suffers from any one of those things needs this test. So doesn't it sound like most people you know?
Right, yeah. So you just take the test, eliminate the foods that show up, and then 3 months later you're allowed to bring them back in.
Depends.
When?
I mean, it really depends on when you bring them back in. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be 9 months. It always depends on how well the patient follows instructions.
Okay.
So if they follow instructions really well, 3 months is usually enough.
Okay.
If they don't, it takes longer.
Okay, so food sensitivity, we're gonna take a quick break. So food sensitivities could make you fat.
Food sensitivities can absolutely make you fat.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, more about the process, what somebody could expect, and the science behind Alcat. You're watching The Wellness Hour, the leader in medical news and information. We'll be right back. You are watching The Wellness Hour, the leader in medical news and information. I'm Randy Alvarez. We're here with Dr. Fred Pescatore, the author of The Hamptons Diet. We're talking about how food allergies, hidden food allergies, can make you fat. For people just tuning in, again, there's a difference between a hidden food sensitivity or allergy and one that's not hidden. Tell me the difference again.
Well, the main difference is that food allergies you generally know about.
Okay.
I mean, whether it's to milk or eggs or wheat or whatever the biggies are, you know it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get hives, your throat's going to close, you could die from it. Hidden food sensitivities, which are something like the Alcat test will uncover for you, are things that you may not know you have.
Mm-hmm.
Or chances are you don't know you have. And that's why it's so important to have a test like that, because then it helps me as a physician fine-tune your diet. If you're coming to see me for nutrition, I need to know what to tell you to eat and what not to eat. I mean, there's 5 billion people on the planet. We can't all be on the same diet. We can all be on the same page, but it's got to be individualized for you and for me and for everybody else out there.
So how effective could you be without the Alcat in this weight loss process?
With weight loss? I think you can be effective without having to use an Alcat test to lose weight. But I think you're not going to be as effective.
Okay.
Your weight loss might be slower. It won't be as perfect for you. You might hit plateaus more often. You might get irritable. You might get those mood swings, the highs and lows that people get during dieting, the depression that people get during dieting. A lot of those things aren't there when you do a test like an Alcat test and find your food sensitivities.
How long have you been using the test?
I've been using the Alcat test maybe 10 years now.
Okay, anything surprised you when you first started doing this with patients?
The thing that most surprised me about the Alcat test was how accurate it was. How it was able to pick up things that people had and they didn't know about it. Now, some people will say, oh, I knew I had a sensitivity to broccoli.
Is that right?
I knew I had a sensitivity to garlic. And they know it. Other people will say, what, are you kidding me? I eat this stuff every day.
Okay.
Nothing happens to me, I eat it every day. And I say to them, well, you know, you're 50 pounds overweight. Maybe if you didn't eat it every day.
So there are some
lose weight.
vegetables that show up that when you eliminate them, they feel better?
Of course. Fruits, vegetables, I mean, these are all foods. I mean, we can't eliminate any food
Is it
group.
genetic? I mean, is that how somebody has a food sensitivity? Are they born with it?
I don't think, no, people are born with food allergies.
Okay.
They're not born with food sensitivities generally.
Okay.
Food sensitivities are really, I think, environmentally based.
You develop them?
You develop them because of how you eat, what you come in contact with, either how bad or how well you eat. It depends. Really all depends. I think it's an environmental situation.
Okay. What frustrates you, by the way, in the world? I mean, you've written a best-selling book, New York Times best-selling book. What frustrates you about diet books that are on the shelves? Some of them.
I guess my biggest problem with diet books on the shelves is that most of them have a gimmick.
Okay.
Most of them tell you, do this, do that, stand on your head, twist during the full moon, do whatever it takes. I don't really believe in something like that. And the Hamptons diet for me, or my book, is really just about getting back to nature, eating what nature intended us to eat, so real foods. So lean proteins, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, healthy fats, that sort of thing. And the Alcat test helps me figure out exactly what that person should be eating.
Okay.
So that's why that food intolerance is so important.
But even reading your book, it seems easier said than done. We all know that we should be eating that way, but we can't do it. How does Alcat, and in my notes, they make a bold statement in their book saying that when you remove these food sensitivities, that your appetite goes away, or your cravings for these bad things goes away. How can that be?
Well, cravings do go away. I mean, when you get your diet under control, cravings go away. Physical cravings, physiologic cravings go away after 72 hours. Psychological cravings,
you mean after removing the
never
food?
go away. Absolutely.
Okay, so something comes up on the Alcat test, and you're saying, okay, broccoli is one of yours, maybe cheese or dairy. You remove it, and all of a sudden they have self-control for the first time in their life. You've seen that.
I've seen it time and time again. And it's self-control definitely over those foods. Because the other thing the Alcat test does is it's a nice psychological tool for people who are trying to lose weight. Because it gives them a roadmap. So it tells them, it kind of guides them through a nice little path, so to speak, that they can go down. This is for me. So therefore, I'm going to be really motivated. I'm going to really follow
Gives
this.
them leverage?
I'm going to really do it. Absolutely. I mean, it empowers them.
It seems easy. I mean,
that.
you just don't eat what shows up on your test.
Correct.
As sensitive.
That's correct. That's how the Alcat test works.
And the weight falls off, in some cases.
In a lot of cases, the weight just falls off.
Help me understand about the cravings, by the way. I'll let you finish your thought there first.
But, well, I can work cravings into that same thing. You have to have an underlying healthy diet.
Okay.
So the Alcat test is you're not going to get the Alcat test and it's going to say you can eat ice cream and cake and candy and cookies and all that stuff. Okay, so don't expect that to happen. So you've got to go from working from an underlying base of something that's healthy for you.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, when you have that base already, and then you do the next step, which is to really fine-tune it for yourself by getting something like an Alcat test, then you could say, is it the pickles I'm eating? Is it the cucumbers? Is it whatever really odd little food it may be that will get you out of bed in the morning without a headache, without needing that cup of coffee, will not make your stomach growl, will not give you that 3 o'clock, I need to take a nap, or I need to go to the candy machine right now. You'll get none of those things. Your headaches can go away. Your arthritis can go away. Your diabetes can get helped. All because your body is starting to process the foods it was meant to process.
Are there those patients that are afraid of the test? They're saying, I don't want to hear of all these things that I probably can't eat?
I've never had one person be afraid of the test.
Okay.
Except maybe a child who doesn't want to get their blood taken.
Is this for children?
Absolutely.
At what
I would
age?
say 30% of my practice is pediatrics, and every one of them will get this test done. And it's different. I mean, I like to do it starting from after they finish nursing, then at 2, then at 3, then at 6.
So when you eliminate these foods, because we talked earlier and you said you could bring them back in, does the body heal itself from these food allergies or
Absolutely.
sensitivities?
Yeah, no. The body won't heal itself from food allergies, but from food sensitivities, it absolutely can heal itself from that.
Now, another way to put it is intolerances. So your body, and help me understand this, is not, it's an intolerance? Is it a food sensitivity? I mean, again, what is it? What is the test picking up?
Wow, those words are really the same thing.
Okay.
I mean, something your body is
You have a bad
intolerant
reaction to it?
Yeah, you have a sensitivity.
Okay.
So it's just like, I don't know, if you put perfume on, or if you rub against newsprint or something, people have sensitivities to that. Or an intolerance to newsprint or something like that. It's the same word. It's all semantics.
Okay.
But the end result is the same. The end result is you're going to get better if you have an Alcat test because you're going to eliminate the inflammation in your body. When you eliminate inflammation in your body, everything gets easier, better, and you feel better.
So this has to be combined with a great diet.
I think the Alcat test has to be combined with a really great diet like the Hamptons diet.
Okay. Physicians watch this program. What do you want them to know about this Alcat test?
I think what I want physicians to really get from an Alcat test is that they use the argument that it's not 100% sensitive. No allergy test is, and that's what they need to understand.
Okay.
No allergy test is, no food sensitivity test, none of them is 100% accurate. So you've got to find a way to work it into your practice to figure out what works best for you and not to be afraid of it, because the statistics are just as good for an Alcat test as they are for any scratch test, any skin prick test, any of that other stuff that they do, because it's not very good for that either.
So once they use it, you think they'll always use it? Any medical doctor that starts using it?
I think any doctor that uses it, any doctor who cares about nutrition, any doctor who cares about seeing their patients get well, once they start using the Alcat test, will use it forever.
Now, in my notes, and we've talked that off camera, that a food sensitivity could make you feel sick.
Right.
How so?
Well, let me give you a really easy example. You know when you get a flu or a cold or something?
Right.
And it's this invader, and it goes around, and your immune system has to try to really work hard to get rid of it, and that's why you have fever and aches and chills and fatigue and all of that.
Right.
Same thing happens when you have a food intolerance, because your body is building up that same sort of response to a foreign invader. So something the Alcat is testing for foods that are foreign invaders in our bodies.
It identifies them.
Correct. So when you eliminate them, you're not going to get the fatigue, the chills, the fevers, the ague, whatever you want to call it.
So many people that have these, they live in a life of flu-like symptoms, tired all the time.
All the time.
Achy.
Absolutely.
Those
People
things
think they have to live like that.
Really?
I mean, that's the funniest thing to me.
Isn't that simple, though?
It's very simple.
When you hear these things, and you're a medical doctor, do you feel like just, and you're at a party, and they're talking about these things, do you feel like, hey, you just have to get the right test?
Well, when I'm at a party, I don't tell people I'm a doctor.
Right. I mean, but does it go
way.
on in your head where you think, I wish I could tell them about this test?
Well, actually, sure. I mean, I wish everybody knew about the Alcat test, because it is so simple. I mean, it's so simple to eliminate an offender. If something's bothering you, would you use a laundry detergent that made you break out every day?
No.
Of course not. So why would you eat a food that would make something in your body happen every day? Whether it's headache, whether it's fatigue, whether it's upset stomach, whether it's gas, whether it's acid reflux, what have you. Why wouldn't you do the same thing? And we have a tool to identify that.
So these metabolic problems, slow metabolism, fast metabolism, but for these people that are having a tough time losing weight, would you say that 90% of the time they definitely have foods that are interfering with their digestion, with their fat metabolism?
I would say more than 90% of the time, if someone's having difficulty losing weight on a plateau, they need to investigate an Alcat test, because they need to look at what their intolerances are, what their sensitivities are, what are they eating that their body isn't burning correctly, isn't using as fuel, isn't making it work right. You want this to work right. You want your body, our bodies are a very tuned machinery.
Okay.
And when we put something in there that doesn't work, I mean, it's like I always tell people, would you put leaded gasoline in your car?
No.
Absolutely not. So why would you put something that you have an intolerance to, a food sensitivity to, in your body? It's not going to make it work right. And unless you have a test like the Alcat, you're never going to know it exists.
So give me some symptoms that you hear as a medical doctor that says, okay, this person has a food sensitivity that is causing them.
Well, I don't want to sound like an alarmist, but I could probably list 40 or 50 different symptoms. Okay. Anything starting from fatigue, to asthma, to allergies, to eczema, to psoriasis, to hives, to inability to lose weight, to gastric reflux disease, to irritable bowel syndrome, bloating, gas, constipation, diarrhea.
All of these things.
Runny nose, itchy eyes, all of these things. Hair loss.
All connected to a food allergy or sensitivity.
These can all be connected to food sensitivities, absolutely. Doesn't mean they are, but they can be. And you've got, from a physician's point of view, you've got to uncover everything you can possibly uncover.
Okay, now tests like the Alcat, you think it'll become the gold standard someday where it'll just be part of every medical practice checkup where they look for these things?
I would hope that one day the Alcat test would become a part of most physicians' protocols for treating patients.
Now we're going to bring Roger Deutsch on the program. He is the co-developer of the Alcat test. He's a science guy from talking to him. Why did you choose Alcat? And how accurate do you think it is, in your view?
Well, there are many food sensitivity tests out there on the market. And I chose Alcat because I thought it was the most sensitive and the most specific, meaning it gave me the better results.
Okay.
So, and also, having used it now for over 10 years, I actually know its quirks, and it's easy to figure out just exactly what is right and how it all works and how to put it together for someone. So I think it's the gold standard test out there for food sensitivities. So that's why I've chosen it.
Roger, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Randy.
Now, Roger, you're the co-developer of the Alcat test. And what is your role with Alcat?
Well, my official role is a senior consultant to the company.
Okay.
I founded the company that developed the test a little over 20 years ago.
What is the hardest thing for you to explain to, I guess, practitioners about the Alcat? I guess there's confusion about a food sensitivity test and a true food allergy test. What is the difference?
Well, allergy and sensitivity are quite different. Allergy is our body's evolutionary developed response to a parasitic infection.
Okay.
And parasites, by their nature, require a much more aggressive response from the immune system, a very dramatic response. And when it's directed against food, although it's very rare, but we do hear of these cases where a person has a true food allergy, the results are very dramatic, and therefore it's very obvious that a person has a reaction to that food. Intolerance or sensitivity is actually biologically quite different without going much into the detail.
Okay.
It's subtler, it's involving a different branch of the immune system. The symptoms are not as dramatic, and they may be delayed by even a few days.
Now, Dr. Pescatori says 72 hours later, you may eat something and then get a response, and you don't connect the two. You don't.
That's exactly right, and that's why we sometimes call these reactions hidden food allergies, because they're obscured. You don't know you're having a reaction to that food.
How are you testing these in the laboratory? You work in and around the laboratory, is that right?
Yes.
Now, how are you doing it? It's 100 foods, and how are you mixing with the blood? I mean, what's going on?
Well, it can be a greater number of foods than that, or other substances. Could be 200 foods, for example, plus food additives and so forth. What we do is we get the blood in, and it's couriered to the laboratory overnight.
Okay.
Because we want to get the blood while it's still fresh, while all the blood cells themselves are still alive, all the various proteins that are in the blood that can be involved in a reaction to a food or a substance are still viable. And the first thing we do is we dilute this blood into a buffer, and then we divide it into very precise subsamples so that a small quantity of the blood is exposed to each one of the 100 or 200 or 250 different items. Essentially what we're trying to do is create the same kind of conditions in the laboratory that do exist when a person is exposed to this array of foods or food additives or chemicals and so forth. So the blood, while it's still alive and in its whole form, it's not separated out at all, it is exposed to each one of these individual items and allowed to interact with the food or the substance at body temperature for a period of time. The next step is that some of the samples go through the analyzer. Now, these are samples that we use as a control to create a baseline, which is a picture of your blood without exposure to the allergen, and get an idea of the condition of your white blood cells on a baseline basis, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And then we put each individual test sample through the same analyzer, and that helps us to determine whether or not the immune system cells have reacted to the food or the chemical within the test tube under these conditions. It gives us a very clear indication as to whether or not you will react to this food or this substance when you actually are exposed to it or when you eat it.
Okay, just suppose, let's take pork for example. That is, so I understand this correctly, it's put into the blood, and then the white blood cells react, they bulge. What happens? I mean, how do you know? What happens?
Well, there's a couple of different things that can happen. Typically, the white blood cells can actually be seen to be releasing chemical mediators which are intended to neutralize or destroy the food, and they're mistaking the food for being a bacteria or a virus that is potentially damaging. You could actually see, if you were to look under a microscope, these chemicals being released from the cell. And it's important to note that this process is what is the major source of the inflammatory process that we're seeing occurring across the board with so many disease states that are common in modern day industrial society.
Okay, aside from foods and vegetables, what else are you looking at?
Well, we look at all categories of foods and spices and the things that people are exposed to, including some of the common items that are added to food for preservation or flavor enhancement or colorings.
What about coffee, tea, and things like that, caffeine?
Sure. Yeah, a person can have an adverse reaction or a sensitivity to coffee or to tea or various herbs or condiments, to dairy products, to meats, to eggs, to fish, poultry, grains. It can be anything, really.
In your book, Your Hidden Food Allergies Are Making You Fat, you make a statement. You say that the Alcat is a medical breakthrough for the 21st century. Elaborate on that.
Well, I believe it is a medical breakthrough. I like to sometimes say it's a 2,500-year-old new paradigm, which sounds like a paradox, but it was about 2,500 years ago that Hippocrates stated, "Let thy food be thy medicine, and thy medicine be thy food."
Okay.
So it's a cliche, of course, but we very much are what we eat. Now the question is, nowadays, food has changed so much, particularly in the last 50, 60 years with the onset, for lack of a better term, of commercialized agriculture. Foods are grown not in the way that they used to be, and it's not really the same food. We now have manipulation of foods with genetic techniques. We now have transportation of foods from one part of the world to the other, and therefore people are eating foods that they're not real, that their ancestors did not eat. They may not have evolved.
So you see reactions in the laboratory to these foods?
We see the reactions in the laboratories to the foods that really reflects the reactions that people in society are having to these foods. That's what this is all about.
Dr. Pescatore, he says, "Let thy food be thy medicine be thy food." Do you use food as a medicine in your practice?
Absolutely.
Is that an overstatement?
No, that is the basis of everything I do. When a patient walks into my office, first thing I do is establish or reestablish their diet. That is the bottom rung of the pyramid of health.
Okay.
If you cannot get your diet right, there's no amount, it's like sticking your fingers in a dike until something else will fall apart. You've got to get the base of the pyramid done, which is getting your diet right.
I want to see if you agree with this. In his book, and I'm quoting your book, Roger, that he says that he compares foods to drugs. And just like drugs have side effects, foods have side effects. You agree with that? Food is a drug.
Well,
or can act like a drug.
Food certainly can act like drugs, and food certainly can have side effects. But I think the real important take-home message is that what might have a side effect for me may not be the same side effect for you. And so you can't expect it. That's why an Alcat test is so important, because each person's is individualized, and it'll be different for you and for me. So food is absolutely a medicine. I mean, when you think about what's in there, I mean, you've got antioxidants, you've got vitamins, you've got minerals. I mean, this is where we're supposed to get our nutrition from. We don't anymore. We don't get our nutrition from there. That's why we have a nutritional supplement industry that's huge in this country, because we've got to get it from other sources, because it's impossible to get it from the foods that we eat because of the way the food's manufactured.
So Roger, how accurate over at your lab do you think you are at mimicking the result of a food compared to in the human body?
Well, fortunately, there have been some very important and rigorous studies done so that I don't have to really express what I think. It's been documented. There have been some studies that have compared the results of Alcat tests with what is considered the gold standard in this form of testing, and that is a double-blind oral challenge, whereby the person actually eats the food under double-blind conditions, meaning that neither the person eating the food or the researcher, who may be a physician or a dietitian instructing them to eat the food, know whether the Alcat test predicted it as being an offending food or safe food. And the correlations with foods and eating the foods and the results of the test are 84%. And in a study also very carefully done comparing oral challenges of food additives with Alcat test results, the correlation was actually 96%. So the accuracy level is extremely high.
Roger, these tests, I mean, this company's nationwide?
Yes, this test is available not only throughout the United States, but through most places in the world.
Now, how does somebody find a doctor like Dr. Pescatore that sees this of value? Because not all doctors, I guess, even know about this or are using it.
Not all doctors are using it, and certainly not all doctors know about it yet. The way to get a referral is to contact the laboratory, and we have a database of referring physicians.
Roger, the subtitle of your book has to do with longevity. Why did you choose that subtitle? I mean, what is the connection with food sensitivities?
There's a strong connection, Randy. The proper diet, a diet which is compatible with a person's individual biochemistry, I think is the strongest, most powerful anti-aging medicine that exists. And the reason is this. The very foundation theory of anti-aging is that free radicals, which are produced in the body from a couple of different sources, the major source being the activated immune system, is the major cause of aging. Essentially, free radicals which are produced in order to, it's not the only source of production, but the immune system is the major source of production of free radicals, which can denature DNA, destroy DNA.
This is free radicals to fight off foreign invaders?
Free radicals are produced by the immune system, yes, in order to defend the body against invading microorganisms.
So you're saying by eliminating the foods that...
By eliminating the foods that the body mistakenly attacks as though they were pathogenic microorganisms like a pathogenic virus or a bacteria, means that the immune system calms down and we don't have that inflammatory process occurring on a chronic basis. Now that inflammatory process is damaging to protein structures, which means hormones and chemical messengers. It's damaging to cell membranes so that the cells don't function properly.
Well, let me ask Dr. Pescatore for a second. Do you think these hidden food allergies can put stress on the immune system?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we've been talking about this whole time, is that an intolerance in your body will put stress on the immune system, and the immune system is overreacting to all of this. So the whole purpose of anti-aging, the whole purpose of trying to live better, is to decrease inflammation in our body. And that's how, I think the Alcat test is the easiest and first place we should all start.
Roger, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Very interesting.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Pescatore, thanks for coming on the program. Very interesting. Somebody watching this, what do you say to them? They've self-diagnosed themselves saying, I have a food sensitivity, hidden food allergy.
Go find a doctor that can give you this test. Call the company, have them refer you to somebody that can do it, and get the Alcat test done. It's the first way to start.
Great. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
You've been watching The Wellness Hour, the leader in medical news and information. I'm Randy Alvarez. If you would like to see this program again online, visit our website at wellnesshour.com. For now, I wish you good health.
Welcome back to A Healthy You. It always amazes me when an oncologist develops cancer or a cardiologist has a heart attack. Shouldn't a cardiologist be able to keep from having a heart attack? And shouldn't an oncologist be able to prevent and cure his own cancer? One would think so, but I guess that would only be in a perfect world. However, in my little perfect world, I happen to meet a plastic surgeon who cured himself of food allergies. And I kind of find that funny. I mean, maybe he should have been an allergist. His name is Dr. Vincent Giampapa, and I thought I might bring his story to you. Take a look.
So I had missed my airplane, and we were sitting in the airplane lounge together, and we had this amazing discussion about allergies. Now, I know you're not an allergist. I know that you are the premier anti-aging doctor, but I thought it was very interesting what we talked about. So my first question to you is, what's the difference between a food allergy and a food intolerance? Because they're two different things.
Over time, we all develop allergies to certain foods because as our intestines age, we don't actually have the ability to absorb the nutrients or foods or specific types of foods optimally. So those large particles of foods get absorbed and create an allergic response. Food insensitivities are things that we tend not to tolerate due to mainly enzyme deficiencies like lactose insufficiency or lactase insufficiency and other types of things that don't allow us to fully digest a compound. So the two major components of food problems are really the insensitivities or the sensitivities and the allergies per se.
Well, I heard there was another way to tell them apart, and one of those is that the food intolerance actually appears days later, whereas a food allergy can be almost immediate and can cause death.
Exactly, you're exactly right. And let me make a point about that. That is so important that there are tests that have actually come out to allow you to test for a food allergy, and not just foods, but chemical allergies and a lot of the artificial compounds that are put into food. So if you know that prior to ingesting certain things, you can avoid that.
And food intolerance actually is the #1 cause of obesity and aging, whereas food allergies, as we said before, can cause death, and it's more immediate. Your throat closing up, having trouble breathing. Now, you had the latter. You had food allergies. And you told me what you had done to figure out which foods you were allergic to and how to reintroduce them. And I thought that was more important because most people, if they're allergic, they think they can't eat that food forever. So take us through what you did.
Okay, so because I love specific types of foods which I know are healthy for me, I wanted to know what foods were really the best for me to continue to have my optimal nutrition and to age optimally. So what I did is I took a test called the Alcat test, which is available.
I have your test right here.
There it is. And this is a wonderful tool to really screen the foods.
I mean, look at this. This is like, so it tells you what you have to avoid, things that you're moderately allergic to, and things that are great and you can eat. You didn't have that many that you completely had to avoid, did you?
Exactly. So by looking at this scale from severe to very mild allergies, you can really start to limit the things that create these
Really cause a problem for you.
Inflammation, accelerated aging, even in your skin, and anything that creates inflammation creates free radicals, which are really a major problem from skin aging to your whole body in general. So what's unique about this test is once you know these things that create that type of response, which accelerates aging in general, you can remove those things from your diet, but that doesn't mean you have to avoid them forever. So what really you do...
Well, that's the interesting part. What did you do? Yeah.
You introduce those foods, you wait about 4 or 5 months, and the body's immune system gets tampered down. And you can then slowly introduce those foods again without eliciting that response.
But one at a time. So in other words, I think what's happening is people are eating a lot of foods that they're allergic to. They're not really digesting them well. They're going into their intestines and it's irritating, causing inflammation, causing big pieces to break off into the system, causing an allergic response. So if you cut those things out, what's going to happen is you'll clean your system out basically. And then you can reintroduce slowly one at a time and hopefully digest them better. So maybe a digestive enzyme might even be good there.
No question digestive enzymes are usually a part of this because, you know, as we age, we not only lose the ability to digest food, which starts actually in our mouth with the...
yeah, but who chews foods the 38 times or 34 times you're supposed to chew? And what was that as a kid? You remember that?
Exactly. But
I don't even remember.
The secret is to, yes, introduce enzymes are an essential part of, if you will, a good anti-aging program.
Right.
And then knowing what foods you need to remove initially to slow down that inflammatory process, and then introduce them slowly, one at a time, with the aid of enzymes, because as we age, our GI tract in general starts to produce less enzymes, but also is not able to absorb the nutrients as optimally. So this is kind of, if you will, kind of a retreat for your intestines and give them time to recover and actually function better if you do this process.
So basically, clean yourself out, reintroduce slowly, take some enzymes, and you can probably start to eat the food you like again. But as we said, it's very important to get the test and work with your doctor on doing all this. But you were able then to eat some of the foods that you love that they had asked you to cut out.
I now can eat my spinach. I can now eat my kale. I can now eat the things
that I know. Can you imagine being allergic to spinach and kale? It's so depressing.
Well, I was eating it anyway, wondering why
you felt so cruddy afterwards.
Exactly.
Well, I just thought this was so fascinating. I had to get it on camera because one of the things we like to do on this show is personal stories from people that basically got over on their ailments or their allergies or whatever, and I thought this was fascinating. I really appreciate you telling your personal story, Doctor.
Anytime.
You've heard it for years. You are what you eat. But can good food actually be bad for you, making you fat or even sick? A Florida-based company claims to have a blood test that will tell you what foods your body can't tolerate. Our Linda Hurtado has the story in today's Taking Action for Your Health report.
You would think being a professional football player that Tampa Bay Buccaneer defensive tackle Chris Hovan would know everything about diet and exercise.
It is definitely lunchtime, Mom.
And so would his family.
Can you spit your gum out, please?
But they recently learned that food sensitivity had a huge impact on their health.
Peaches.
And they made some changes.
Like any diet, it's hard to stay away. They took away all my favorite stuff, I'm not gonna lie. But at the same time, you can't put a price and you can't, on your health.
I can see that I've lost some of my body fat, and I think that can only be beneficial to me as the season comes.
Their diet changes came about after the Hovans took a test called Alcat. It's a blood test that's supposed to list the foods your body has built up an intolerance to. The parents took the test in hopes of clearing up some of their children's health issues.
Some more peaches?
As well as some of their own.
My husband also has a lot of acid reflux and heartburn, and I was always tired, runny nose, sore throat, and so, this was like our last option. We had tried all the antibiotics.
Creators say the Alcat checks for food intolerance at a cellular level. Technicians are looking for sensitivities, not allergic reactions. An allergic reaction typically happens immediately. A sensitivity usually builds up over time, triggering the body's immune system, causing inflammation.
The body can withstand so much toxicity. And then when you would exceed that level, then there's a breakdown. And breakdown in this case means the breakout of some symptoms, which could be migraine, arthritis, the inability to lose weight, and so forth.
Yeah, we stopped all the pasta sauces. They stopped getting diaper rashes.
The Hovans got the results and some nutritional counseling on the foods they needed to eliminate from their diets. Foods in the red area of this chart should be cut out completely. Foods from the yellow or orange area should be eaten in moderation, and foods from the green are a go. Chris had built up an intolerance to red meat.
We're just getting frustrated.
A staple of his diet for years. Both he and Jamie showed sensitivity to cow's milk. 4 weeks after cutting out most of the foods on that red list, Jamie says the family's health problems have cleared up, and they've also shed a few pounds.
To us, it was worth it. The way we feel, it's worth putting in the effort to change the eating habits.
Now, the cost for the Alcat test can be significant, anywhere from $50 to over $1,000, depending on the number of foods being tested. By the way, insurance coverage is limited. It really just depends on your individual plan. If you'd like more information on the Alcat test, go to our website at abcactionnews.com/health. Taking action for your health. I'm Linda Hurtado, ABC Action News.
And as always, talk to your doctor to make sure this test is something you might benefit from.
Potential relief for WA allergy sufferers with a special test that could solve chronic health problems. Marking Food Allergy Awareness Week, it focuses on a change in white blood cells.
Since the birth of her daughter 4 years ago, Nola Askew-Whidden has suffered chronic fatigue. Before that, she suffered from irritable bowel syndrome for 2 decades.
I've got to have 3 or 4 cups of coffee in order to get up and go. Had headaches, a lot of sinus problems, aching joints, diarrhea, bloating.
Affecting work and her relationships, Nola decided to take what's called an Alcat food allergy test in her search for answers. It found she had an intolerance to milk, chicken, apples and oranges.
Tests the whole blood and the white cell response to the inflammatory reactions to the allergens.
The blood test identifies reactions to 150 foods, but unlike conventional tests, can also check preservatives, additives and colourings linked to chronic health problems, as well as chemical and environmental allergies.
It gives them an explanation of their symptoms, and then they can manage it themselves.
Currently, more than 4 million Australians suffer from food allergies, and that figure's tipped to nearly double by 2050. This comes at a great expense to the nation, with lost productivity and health expenditure exceeding $7 billion every year. While the tests range in price from $99 to more than $600, Nola says it's worth it for a better quality of life.
It provides clarity and allows you to have an individual assessment of the foods that you have an intolerance to, and it's by far the best thing I've ever done, ever.
Eleanor Kane, 10 News.
Hi, I'm Lee Rolnick with Cell Science Systems, the Alcat Laboratory, and we're here in Las Vegas at the annual International Congress on Anti-Aging Medicine. We wanted you to hear from experienced physicians how the Alcat test has impacted their practice and changed the lives of their patients. And the following are their stories.
I've been using the Alcat for several years now. Well, just asking me to share one clinical success story is crazy because I have so many. It's hard to pick, the best one. They're all great.
We've been using Alcat in our practice for approximately 3 years now with great success. Since she's had the Alcat and some of our dieting coaching, she's lost over 175 pounds, and that's over a period of 2 years now.
I have been doing the Alcat test now for about 3 years, and I initially did the study on myself, and it had such a profound impact on my own nutritional and health status. I then moved it to my family, and it was just life-changing for myself and my family. And so I began to put it into my practice, and every day, it is the piece that I was missing in metabolic and functional medicine.
I've been using Alcat test for probably 2 years now. Have a lot of success with it. Most of the people that I'm seeing are getting an Alcat test. They may request it, or we use it as part of our full workup. Basically, it's the most information you can get from a tube of blood that will benefit your patient.
Well, our first patient that did the Alcat test, we saw phenomenal results.
We've been using the Alcat food and sensitivity test for at least a year now, and I speak very highly of the clinical success rates that we've had. We've had a number of patients that not only have an improvement in energy, an improvement in well-being, in cognition, but we've had some amazing and unexpected results with dramatic weight loss since we started implementing the Alcat. We've used other testing methods in the past and not seen those same clinical results.
I've been using the Alcat now for almost a year now, and we've had great success. A lot of patients with chronic allergies, asthma, weight gain, fatigue, GI symptoms, skin issues, a lot of chronic issues have gotten a lot better when we've done the Alcat test.
I researched it, started using it in my practice, and realized that it made a really big difference in my patient population to help them get well. I've probably Alcat tested probably close to 200 patients already, so I have a large volume of data. I have a lot of success stories.
The test that I use is the Alcat test. I've been using it, like I said, for about 6 or 7 years, and I've had wonderful results. The patients really have been the ones that got such great results that have encouraged me to keep on using it.
I have been using the Alcat test since I have been practicing integrative and wellness medicine. Since 2004, actually, I was one of the pioneers in the Miami area that incorporated integrative and wellness medicine, and Alcat has been an integral part of my practice.
I do use Alcat testing in my practice. I think that Alcat testing probably should be considered more useful than a CBC. Immediately applicable and can be life-changing.
All right, Paul, thank you kindly. It can be really tough to throw a dinner party nowadays because so many people are avoiding things like gluten and dairy and grains. Is this a phase, or is it here to stay? Aha, joining us this morning is nutritionist Sarah Vance. She's going to give us the 411, and I want to start first with food intolerances versus food allergies. Let's talk a little bit about the differences between the two.
Well, some of the symptoms can be a little bit the same, but they're really two different animals. A food allergy is actually pretty relatively rare. There are only about 5% of the population that actually has a true food allergy. And a little bit of whatever the food is, like for example with peanut allergies, even just the dust of the peanut can cause a severe reaction. And they can range from things like just tickling in the mouth to severe anaphylaxis, so they can be life-threatening. Whereas food intolerances generally are, the symptoms can be more vague, they can be kind of chronic, they can even be delayed, like you can eat something and then the symptom may not come out for another day or so. And so that's why food intolerances are a little bit harder to kind of diagnose or pin down, because a lot of times you'll just kind of be feeling a certain way and not really know that it's connected to what you're eating.
So what are some of the symptoms of a food intolerance? How do you know if
That's
you've
the
got
other
it?
thing. There's so many. I mean, the list is literally 100 long, but things like rashes, chronic skin conditions, even acne, migraines are a very, very common reaction. Just fatigue, muscle aches and pains, like if you're, chronically having joint pain or muscle aches and pains. A lot of times people who are just labeled hypochondriacs really have a food intolerance behind all of these things. They're just not ever feeling great.
So what are you supposed to do if you suspect but you're not sure? Go get diagnosed, or how do you figure it out?
That is really what the ideal thing is, to get a food intolerance panel run, because for years I knew that I was diagnosed as gluten sensitive, and so I avoided gluten, but I didn't know that there were a handful of these other foods that were also bothering me. So you could literally have an intolerance to things that we think are so benign, like rice, banana, and cinnamon, coffee, almonds. And so if you get a food intolerance panel run, and this is the company that I use, it's Alcat. You can get 200 foods. They can identify if you're having reactions to 200 foods. So they break it down into severe intolerances, moderate, mild, and then they tell you what are the foods that aren't intolerant. This is actually my panel that I had done last
And so how does it work? What do you do?
You get a blood test. So this is a kit,
Okay.
and then they have someone come to your house and they'll draw the blood, and then they'll send you the results. You'll get a whole packet that kind of tells you a little bit about it.
And they can pinpoint and say, okay, it's the rice, or it's the bananas, or it's whatever.
Exactly. So, and again, a lot of these foods you wouldn't suspect. Like one of my severe ones was white potato, and a moderate is rice. And so those are things that normally you would actually put people on that are going off of gluten. And so that's probably one of the reasons why I am reacting to those, because I have been eating those in lieu of the gluten-containing grains.
So if you find out that, okay, it's the rice, or it's the coffee, or it's whatever, does that mean for the rest of your life you're avoiding those foods?
That's that question. It's sort of that 50,000-foot question. For some, yes. And what happens is, what you do is, for these foods, you take them out of your diet for a period of time. A lot of times what's happening is, what's causing all these is there's an underlying gut inflammation, there's a gut imbalance, it could be leaky gut. And what's happening is, if you can take these foods that are causing this reaction out and then let the gut heal, so doing things like probiotics and some other supplements that are going to heal the gut, and then after a certain period of time, some of these foods you can reintroduce back in. There's certain things that I say, you might want to just go forever off of, things like gluten. If you've reacted to that, that can just set the whole thing in motion again, and there's really no nutritional value to that. But some of these foods, yes, you can bring back in after you've allowed the body to heal.
So a kit like this, how much would this cost to do this, if you're interested in doing one?
It varies. I mean, like the top of the line will run you about $1,000, but that's going to test you on 200 foods, 20 different you can test environmental chemicals, molds, functional foods, and herbs. So, for example, for someone like me, I'm doing a lot of superfoods and things like that, and I found out that I'm sensitive to elderberry, so I know to avoid that now. Yeah.
Oh.
So, that's like the gold standard, but you could go from around 300 and up between those.
And if food intolerances can make you actually gain weight? Is that
You
true?
bet, yeah.
How so?
Well, they can do both. They, a lot of times we see in kids who have food intolerances, they have trouble gaining weight. They're really, they can be underweight and have trouble growing and things like that. Stunted growth can be a symptom, but a lot of times in adults we'll see weight gain, and a lot of it stems from the inflammation. And you can even crave and be kind of almost addicted to foods that you're intolerant to. It's a very interesting thing. Yeah.
I learned a lot today, Sarah. Thank you. If you would like to get more information from Sarah, you can do so just by going to our website, fox5sandiego.com. We've also got a link to an article that you wrote about this issue. Really, really fascinating stuff. All right, Paul, let's send it back over to you.
Some of you may have noticed or heard about anti-inflammatory or friendly foods diets that use tests to see if what you're eating is actually working with your body. Now, lately, these diets have been featured on The Doctors here on NBC and Dr. Oz. And if you've heard about this, you might be still wondering, well, I've heard about it, but what do I do? It can start with a visit to Asana Body of Denver. And back with us is Clinic Director Charity Menning of Asana Body, right there in the middle. And her two special guests this morning, Lee Rolnick, flying all the way in from Florida. Mr. Rolnick is the Alcat Worldwide Laboratories. He's with them. And also Deborah Mayhew, a registered nurse in Denver. And she's actually taken this test, so we're going to hear her story. Welcome to sunny Colorado.
Thanks for having us.
It's beautiful here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome. We love,
Thank
and
you.
Charity, I know you're just thrilled to have both of your guests on with us today, and what we're going to
I'm
learn.
so excited.
I know. Well, let's get started. We hear anti-inflammatory and friendly foods diets everywhere right now.
Yes, we do.
So explain that a little bit.
It's finding out what foods are right for you. It's finding out which foods your body digests and processes properly. And that's going to be different for everyone.
Well, yeah, and it makes a difference in how you feel and your energy level. Alcat Worldwide is optimal wellness through customized nutrition is a good way to put it.
Sure.
What is your favorite part about this test? You know, I've looked through this brochure and there's a lot of interesting information.
I think the best part about it is it can give anybody, whether you're an athlete, whether you're someone suffering from chronic conditions, it gives you a roadmap for a healthy lifestyle. It tells you which foods are right for you and which foods are not right for you.
And then from there you have the map and guiding you in the direction of which
Absolutely.
way to go. And Charity, I know you're passionate about this topic.
I'm
you
so
believe
passionate.
in this. Why do you feel people then should get tested?
I've worked with this test for years and years with multiple doctors and nurses and the general public, models, athletes, and I did the test myself after being pressured by a doctor that I worked with. I was eating nutrition bars, whey protein shakes, and I thought I was doing everything right, and I had chronic body pain. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, and some doctors actually told me that I was fine and it was in my head.
Oh, no.
And until I got the test, I had no idea what I was doing wrong. I had all the supplements, I had the shakes. When I got my test results back, it showed that I have a severe whey protein intolerance, and I was putting that in my
You were
own
just
body
doing that every day.
5 to 6 times a day, and I thought I was doing the right thing. There's no way I could have known. I went to the hospital, I had multiple tests run, and this is the only test that showed me what was wrong.
Well, I know looking through this, I mean, how has this helped other clients with yours? Because it really breaks everything down.
Absolutely.
You know, it's great.
This test has helped clients when they come in and they have tried every diet and they can't lose weight, and they say, I swear I don't overeat and I exercise. We have clients that say, I have a headache every day and I take 8 to 16 ibuprofen every day. We have people with severe gas and bloating to the point where it's embarrassing. And this test, because it goes after the root of inflammation with what we put in our bodies every day, really alleviates symptoms. We see it work miracles every day.
I mean, what would be the best way then for someone, you know, because people are thinking, yes, this is me, I want to get this help, to get that test done?
All people have to do is call us at Asana Body and schedule an appointment. When they come in, as long as they don't have any antihistamines in their system, we can send them in for their blood draw. 9 to 14 days later, they have their answers.
That quickly?
Very quickly. And if they can't get through on the phone, if all lines are busy, they can just fill out the contact form on our website, and there's so much beneficial information there too.
Well, just talking with the both of you, and for you too, it's amazing that a test, blood is the key to a lot of things and figuring out what's going on with your body, and this is what you do.
Sure.
I mean, it works.
We're looking for inflammation on a cellular level. We're looking to see what foods, what chemicals, what molds are causing an unnecessary activation of a patient's immune system. And getting your immune system working properly can benefit you in so many different ways.
Charity, so how many different foods can be tested then?
We test an average of 200 foods, and this is really great because when people say, well, what if I do eat this or what if I don't eat that? We test all 200 so that they can have their average American diet, Mexican, Italian, Chinese food. It's all going to be included. They're about 200 ingredients because that'll include your cooking oils, your herbs, your spices, coffee, green tea, all of your different food groups. Absolutely.
Well, you're just telling me for your birthday you can't have any milk, but you find other things. Your cookie dough, something or other, but you find options.
I did find options. I found a brand that's actually sold at King Soopers. So delicious.
Great.
Gluten-free, dairy-free cookie dough ice cream, so on my birthday I could have a treat.
And you had a lot of it, didn't you?
I
and
did.
It's your birthday and you can do that.
I did.
Deborah, you are a firm believer in the Alcat. What was going on first with your health?
I was never losing any weight. I was working out 4 times a week. I was on a diet, and I changed diets all the time, and I was still not losing weight. I kept gaining weight, and then my doctor says, you're a little overweight, you need to lose weight. And I'm going, I'm doing everything that I possibly can be doing, and it's not working. So I went to Asana, and they said, well, your body mass, your body fat, your muscle percentage doesn't equal out to what you're doing. So we want you to go do this Alcat test.
And then from that,
and from there I found out
look
what
at
I
this.
could not eat. This
So
is what
this
I was
is-
probably eating most. I was eating a lot of egg whites. I was eating zucchini. I was eating asparagus. I love asparagus
yeah.
and Brussels sprouts.
Wasn't working.
and those were on my severe list. So therefore, I can no longer eat that, which I'm going, now what am I going to be able to eat?
But you have...
So I can eat this instead, which is corn tortillas. I have gluten-free. I need gluten-free. I'm lactose intolerant. I cannot eat soy, so now I have to be a very big label reader in the stores. And so this is what I can eat now instead. So and it really satisfies me.
So how are you feeling different now? What did
Much
you get
better.
from this
I have
test?
so much more energy. I don't feel like when I get up from the table that I'm still hungry and I still have to munch. I now have a full feeling and I have energy and I don't have to go to bed to go to sleep because I just didn't feel good.
Right.
I was bloated all the time. I just couldn't figure out what foods were causing that, and I would stay away from all the spicy foods because that's what everybody said. It was the spicy foods, and now I can eat the spicy foods like bell peppers. Bell peppers were just causing indigestion like crazy. Now it does not cause that.
Because you found that balance.
Right.
And then Charity, you have the yogurt here. Is this something that you, well obviously milk,
Yeah,
you have to stay away from?
This is my example, and so many people say, you know, I eat a lot of yogurt during the day. I get my probiotics from my yogurt. So they have Greek yogurt and some fruit thinking that's a healthy option. For some people, if they react to, you don't have to be lactose intolerant to not have milk, but it's the casein proteins and the whey proteins.
Right.
And when they can't tolerate that, they wouldn't feel it right away. It would actually take probably about 3 days, 4 days to actually have the reaction. And this is something that is not a good option for me. I'd be much better off with bacon and eggs.
Yeah, see the differences there. Charity, you have a great incentive that's going on, and it involves a book, a magazine, getting the test, so explain that to us.
When somebody wants to do the test and they say, okay, I've heard about this, I'm ready, I want my answers, they just call Asana Body, book an appointment. If it's too far to travel, they can always have a test kit drop shipped to them. And when they come in, we give them a free copy of the book, Your Hidden Food Allergies Are Making You Fat. It's a wonderful book because it actually describes how you could take something into your system that may not have fat in it, but it wreaks havoc on your system, and a lot of people have weight problems because of that. We also have a lot of options for people whose test results come out showing that they have severe reaction to soy or gluten or dairy. And so if somebody comes in, we'll give them a promo code so they can subscribe to Living Without Magazine at a reduced rate. So we have a lot of support for our clients.
Well, that's what you need because it is starting, as you know. It's a lifestyle change, and it's something that you have to make happen, and then it's a part of your life. And I'm sure you're finding it not to be, I'm sure maybe at the beginning a little intimidating, but now it's just, it's your routine.
It is my routine. And now my husband's going, oh, maybe I should be looking into doing some of that. So maybe that might help him too. So.
Now, how long has Alcat been around?
We've been around, our laboratory's been around Florida for over 25 years. We've been offering the test, and we work with thousands and thousands of physicians around the country.
And so you see this at all different levels and areas.
Absolutely. I think what's important to remember is that what we've always been taught are healthy, traditionally healthy foods may not be healthy for you, and it's important to find out what are the right foods for you.
Is there anything prior to testing that people might need to know about? I know you mentioned, Charity, any antihistamines.
Right. If somebody just took a Benadryl or a Dayquil or a NyQuil or a Claritin, they need to have it out of their system for 4 days before we do the blood draw. Even though this isn't a full-blown allergy test, it's a delayed reaction sensitivity test, it could possibly cover up the most severe reactions.
And then everything's mapped out if they come into Asana in this nice pamphlet that you provide with things to do, not to do, and get it done. Well, this was a great example, and I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yes.
I know you're feeling better, and you're a part of this every day as well. And enjoy Colorado.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Alcat Worldwide, also known as, it is also optimum wellness through customized nutrition. That's the whole package of what they do. It could be the test that you've been needing to figure out how to reach your health and fitness goals. And this test will go to the root of dietary inflammation and try to help with many people that are dealing with chronic inflammation. This allows you to have more control over knowing how to look and feel the best without wasting time and money on many of those different diets out there. Call Asana Body now to schedule your appointment and get your own Alcat test. The number 720-962-5200, and it's great because they are offering the support. This includes a free introductory consultation when you purchase your own 200 food test. You're going to receive a free copy of the book, Your Hidden Food Allergies Are Making You Fat, and a promo code, as you heard, for $5 off a subscription of Living Without. That's a magazine for you. Get started today. The number 720-962-5200. Also visit asanabody.com, and you can fill out their contact form and pre-order your test and even have it shipped the whole kit right to your house. This segment was paid for by Asana Body.
Welcome back. The common foods you eat every day, like spinach, bell peppers, even olive oil, could be making you sick, causing weight gain, or even worse, could slowly be causing disease in your body, even the foods that are deemed healthy. But a simple blood draw and a test called the Alcat could change the way you feel from one day to the next by finding your specific food triggers. I did the test at Asana Body because I wasn't feeling good, and I cannot tell you what it did for me. Charity Menning is the clinic director at Asana Body. She joins us now. I have to give you a hug, girl. I mean, really. Oh, she changed my life. My life changed from one day to the next when I got my test results. Tell people what the Alcat test is and what it entails.
Well, number one, the Alcat test is my favorite thing that we even do in all of our programs, all of our services. The Alcat test is not something that you would have done at your primary care physician's office. Right. Primary care will test for antibodies and histamine reaction, looking for disease, disorder, or allergies. We're looking for a delayed reaction food intolerance, and what this means is that when you look under a microscope at your white blood cells, you can be eating perfectly natural whole food that is actually causing cellular damage and inflammation. And when we have people come into the clinic, they say, you know, I visited a nutritionist before, I'm on an anti-inflammatory diet, but they never tested my blood. The most accurate way to actually know what's going to work for your body is to do the lab test and see the blood. Yeah. Because if you have cellular inflammation and damage coming in from food that you're eating every day, the only way to stop that inflammation is to stop eating that food.
To stop eating it. And that was me. I just never knew that I was going to get the results that I did. We're going to show the consult that I went in for, my blood draw. It's super easy. Went in and I filled out a questionnaire. What are your symptoms? My symptoms were that I was sick to my stomach all the time. And I had been to so many GI doctors telling me I had irritable bowel syndrome, I had celiac, and I had taken all the wheat and gluten out of my diet, but I was still sick every day during the show. I could hardly make it through the show sometimes because I was so sick.
We hear that so often where we've had people who, it is their profession to be on camera or on the radio, and they say, half the time I'm in my office laying down on the floor because I have a stomach ache.
Right.
And so many times, you know, we have doctors and nurses that come in for our dietary programs and they say, I don't know why this isn't standard yet. But the thing is, we're testing food against a person's blood. And so when you look at the results and you feel that change in your body, think about how much people spend on programs that might work really well for their friend, but they don't get the same results.
That was me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every person's body is so unique.
So unique. Okay, so when I was sitting there during that consult, I didn't know how my life was going to change. I mean, literally. So I got my test results, and we're going to kind of show how it comes in that. We're kind of showing it right now, the color-coded system. In my severe intolerance, which is the red column there, I had olive oil. I was eating olive oil every day, Charity, and I didn't know it was making me sick because it's supposed to be good for you. And then in my moderate intolerance, which is that orange zone, I had apples. I was having an apple every day. These things were making me sick, literally.
Absolutely. So many people say, I've read these books, I know that these foods are anti-inflammatory, but that is not true of every single person. You can be following the best program that is recommended by some of the best doctors, and the fact is, if your body isn't tested for those foods, you'll never really know why you're not getting that great result.
Right.
So by getting the Alcat test, it's an investment in your health that you can use for the rest of your life.
So I went home that night. I instantly took olive oil out of my cupboard, stopped using it, and just taking that one food out and the apple made a huge difference that night. I felt like a normal person. I haven't felt this way in years. I mean, literally. And so what are you telling people to do? You're telling people to take that stuff out of your diet for a given time, right?
Right. When people come in for the Alcat test, we do a simple blood draw. And so it's not a fasting test. We just need to make sure that there aren't any antihistamines in the system.
Okay.
And then it takes about 2 weeks to process the test because we're looking for that delayed reaction inflammatory factor. So one test takes 4 days and we run it twice. And then we have them come in and meet with a registered dietitian, Melissa Stoner, who is also a certified organic chef.
Yeah.
And so when you meet with a healthcare professional and they explain how to use this test to meet your goal. People can come in just to feel better when it comes to headaches, stomach aches, irritable bowel syndrome, fibromyalgia.
Right.
And then oftentimes people come in because they're not able to lose body fat or gain muscle mass. So when you meet with a registered dietitian, she can show you how to customize all of your test results to meet your goals. And we see that happen so quickly for people that have tried so many things and never gotten anywhere.
Oh, I tried everything, girl.
They come
I did.
back and they say, I can't believe that this food was causing that problem. It's priceless to know exactly what's affecting your
Priceless.
body.
Are you calling now? Are you picking up the phone and calling Asana Body? This is how excited I am about it. I have more energy after a week. And what was great about Melissa is she sat down with me and said, okay, you can't have this, but you can have this. And she provided me, like, you guys brought me a protein shake that's really going to fill some of the protein gaps that I'm going to be experiencing. And it really helped to just sit down and go, okay, I'm going to go to the store and buy this stuff, and it's going to work.
Absolutely. At Asana Body, we are completely dedicated to a person's success. We can deliver test results, but we have to know how to follow those test results to really achieve a person's goal. And we care about each and every person that comes in. When somebody looks at the Alcat test, you know, it's been used for about 3 decades. So it used to go under private label, so not everybody's familiar with the term Alcat. But it's a trusted source. It's absolutely my favorite test. And when somebody's shopping for prices, if you look at other places in the country, they're charging, you know, $1,000 or $1,500 to do your case. Right now at Asana Body, we're only charging the list price, and that's $595.
Right.
And you get your appointment with a dietitian and a 3-week follow-up appointment to make sure that you're doing well.
Priceless. I cannot stress that enough. Priceless. $595 for the test, follow-up work, all the consults. And, you know, it's not covered by insurance, but I'm telling you, I would have paid this out of pocket to feel the way that I'm feeling today.
That's what we hear from all of our clients, because they've spent so much more on other programs. They've spent so much more on the fitness equipment that's sitting in the basement, and they're not using it. They say, you know, maybe I'm just lazy or I'm just not motivated.
Yeah.
What I hear when somebody says that is, I don't feel energy from my food. I'm not happy, I don't feel comfortable, and I don't feel motivated. When they do the Alcat test, they say stress goes away, they have more energy, they sleep better at night.
And I am a testament for that. So call right now, 720-962-5200, 720-962-5200, or you can get more information at asanabody.com. If you have any more questions, email me personally, because I did it. We'll still
An incredible 2 months in net for the Amerks. So when asked what might be making the difference, he says he tweaked what he eats.
David Leggio is on his game. Not much gets past him these days. He leads the AHL in victories and minutes played. The past 18 starts, he has a 13-5 record and is 8-1 in his past 9 starts.
I feel good. I feel confident, and I feel really confident in the guys in front of me. I think we've really limited the grade A scoring chances during that stretch since December, and it's been a big reason why we've been able to have success.
Another reason for Leggio's success might have to do with what he isn't eating anymore.
Milk, bananas, I don't know, what else? This, like some small things, Brussels sprouts, but the big thing was milk. That's a tough one to give up. Eggs. So it's been tough.
Leggio, along with several other members of the team, are finding out that food really does fuel the brain and body. Owner Terry Pagula asked players on both the Sabres and the Amerks to voluntarily take a blood test that can tell what foods work and which ones don't.
Terry Pagula gave us a test, a blood test that we did, and kind of identifies the foods that you're sensitive to, and I've been able to cut some foods out that were, you know, just sensitive to my body. Things that are normally nutritious, but for whatever reason my body was reacting strangely to them.
The Alcat test identifies cellular reactions to more than 350 foods, chemicals, and herbs. Inflammatory reactions are linked to obesity, diabetes, skin, joint, and digestive disorders. All David Leggio knows is he feels better overall and has more clarity over the past 2 months since he's gotten his results and made changes. So could there be a connection to his performance?
Maybe that's the reason why I've been playing a little bit better. I feel better, but other than that, no, just working hard, trying to get better every day. And, you know, like I said, the big thing is the team is playing really well and playing the right way.
Now, Leggio says he's not allergic to any of the foods he's had to give up, but taking them out of his diet has just made him feel better. The Amherst host the Texas Stars tomorrow night at the Blue Cross Arena. So several of the players actually did this on the Sabres as well. So I found the test kind of interesting because we all know something that sort of just doesn't set well, or if we could be eating food that could actually make us perform better. I think we could all start doing it.
Bananas, Brussels sprouts, not things that you think you'd cut out and do better.
David Leggio is not working, so we're just happy whatever he's eating now. So, but you know, it's nice that he took it seriously and made the changes.
Like the concept.
Yes.
Yeah, we should all try it here as an example. Research.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I have a girlfriend who does very well with that. But all right, move.
Yahoo Sports Elite Athlete Workouts, presented by Dodge.
Since I got in the league, I've had a unique diet plan. You know, I've done the Sari Melman diet, which basically it's re-engineering your body, and it's how your white blood cells react to certain foods and enzymes that go into your body. And it's very specific, it's very unique. A lot of diets are not like that. You know, and it's just basically putting the perfect proteins, the perfect carbs, the perfect everything that fits your DNA makeup and based on how your white blood cells react.
It's all about recovery. You know, so the main thing with nutrition of what we're trying to do is it's twofold. Number one is energy levels, so we want high energy levels, and then recovery. You know, the quicker you can recover, the harder we can train.
2, come on, step back down, go right into it, stay down, bend your knees.
I could be eating buffalo bison steaks. I know that it's the leanest protein out. And, you know, it makes your body kind of lean and it's a great protein. It all depends. I mean, I could eat 3 to 4 times a day. There's no calories attached to this diet, so it's, you know, basically what your body loves to eat. It can suck it in and uses it as energy.
He takes time to really dial in something that's specific to his needs. And you know, when you talk about the importance of diet, he understands frequency. You know, that's huge. You know, so 1, not missing meals. 2, your pre and post training. And he's dialed in with that.
I recover faster. You know, I don't use many drugs to recover, things of that nature. I can do it naturally.
Fox 10 Sports Night is back.
When you look at older players like Steve Nash at the age of 38 and Grant Hill almost 40, you think, okay, it's not just about being athletic or being in great shape. It's about being smart, and that means the right kind of conditioning and the right kind of nutrition. Grant Hill sitting down with our Gail Jansen to look at just how important it is to eat to win.
Is right around the corner for Grant Hill, but you'd never know it from his play.
Hill on the fly.
A lot of people talk about the training staff here, bringing you guys the fountain of youth, but you have some additional secret you have going on. Just talk about your work with Dr. Jane.
Yeah, no, I had the opportunity to meet and work with Dr. Jane over about 2 or 3 years ago, and really it's just been an amazing experience, and having the opportunity to work with him and learn more about my body, about nutrition, you know, and just understanding foods and how they work well with my system, with my particular blood type, my body type, and so forth.
Dr. Sunil Jain is a homeopathic doctor in Scottsdale who's helping numerous sports stars get the most from their body.
Professional athletes' bodies get abused beyond, you know, just the average person, just because of the wear and tear, physical, mental stress. So it's very important for them extra important for them to eat the right foods.
A food sensitivity test pinpointed the foods causing Hill's digestive issues.
Just sort of understanding, you know, sort of food allergies and how they affect your energy level, how they affect your ability to recover, which is important in professional sports, your sleep patterns, things of that nature.
A A recent special report in Sports Illustrated mentioned Dr. Jane's work while chronicling how far sports nutrition has come. One of Jane's other clients, Steve Nash, has famously given up sugar.
It's pro-inflammatory. You know, every time you eat, your body has to make insulin. You know, that's somewhat of a shock to the system, and it hinders the way your body can recover. It zaps energy, and so just for anyone to reduce, if not eliminate, you know, refined sugars, it would do their bodies great good.
Hill isn't sure how many more years he'll play, but he feels great physically.
You know, I feel better now than I did, 5 years ago. And obviously a lot of it has to do with our training staff internally here with Aaron and the guys, and they're awesome. They're great. And but I think I'm even as fortunate as I am to have, as Shaq said, the yums, Aaron and those guys, to have a Dr. Jane as well. Has really been, really been helpful to me. And it's not just for playing, like I said. I mean, I might, this might be it. I might play another few years, who knows? But the things that I learned, things I've learned, and things hopefully I will continue to learn, I will try to apply.
Gail Jansen for Sports Night.
Back to Studio 5. The food you eat could be affecting your health, and you might not even know it. Dr. Robert Jones is with Genesis Medical Institute. How can food be affecting a person and they might not be aware of it?
Well, you're familiar with allergies.
Mm-hmm.
If you eat shrimp and your mouth swells up, that's a type 1 allergy. That's immediate onset. Type 2 allergy is you could eat like a banana today,
okay,
and it might give you arthritic pain 3 days later. Or like we had one girl that was eating avocados every day. We ran the test on her, found out she was severely reactive to this, but it'd take 2 or 3 days before it would show up. So how would you ever know? You wouldn't. Okay, these are delayed onset food sensitivities, and the typical allergy testing doesn't show that.
Well, and something like arthritic problems, like you mentioned, that might show up 2 or 3 days later could be attributed to a number of different things, and at that point you're not connecting it to that banana you ate a week earlier.
Right. That's exactly
What
right.
sort of physical reactions are we seeing to these foods?
Oh, we see girls with terrible acne come in. They're eating something. We had one young man who he had been to several other doctors to see, why do I have this irritable bowel syndrome? One day diarrhea, the next day constipation, and always bloating, gas, things like that. Well, he had been tested. They couldn't find anything wrong with him. We ran what's called an Alcat test on him. And when it comes back, it will rate it either severe in red, orange moderate, yellow is mild, or green, they're okay. There's no reaction. Well, one of his red foods or severe foods was corn. But he was eating Mexican food all the time, corn tortillas, and he was drinking pop, which has corn sweetener in it. So he never had the opportunity to feel better because he always had corn in his system. If it lasts for 3 days, as soon as we got him off the corn, and he has to stay off for several months, but immediately, within 3 weeks, his irritable bowel syndrome was gone.
So if an allergy test doesn't cut it, as you're describing, tell us more about this test. What is the process to really determine what foods could be causing you problems?
It's a very simple blood test. Person goes to the lab, they have it drawn, the blood drawn, then they go, that's sent to Florida, actually, is where the lab is. And they analyze it in a different way than an allergy test is done. Then they send us back this and some other things on a patient. It's very revealing because most of the time, when I slide this across to a patient and I have them read those foods, they usually gasp. Why? Because it's the foods they're eating every day. And you've heard the saying, one man's food is another man's poison. That's exactly what this test shows.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, I guess a lot of patients are shocked to learn that something as simple as a banana or corn, like you mentioned, could be causing them such problems. So the blood test is the first step to identifying the problem. Then you work with patients beyond that to really treat the condition.
And it's not just, it can cause anything. Anything can cause anything. It could cause sinus problems. One of the things we see is with people that are overweight, these foods make them, if they're eating something that they're reacting to, it makes them crave more food. And people say, well, I just don't have the willpower to stay away from those foods. Not true. If this makes them physiologically crave those foods, they can't stay away from those foods. They're craving them 24 hours a day. If they cut these out, it makes it so much easier.
Well, obviously every situation is different. How do people get a hold of you if they have more questions?
GenesisMedicalInstitute.com, or they can go to foodmakesmefat.com and read all about it.
Okay, Dr. Jones, thank you so much for stopping by. We'll post that information for you on the Studio 5 website if you'd like to check it out after the show. Coming up next,